So here we are at Trafalgar Square. You probably hear the sights and sounds of London. Police sirens, of course. Lots of buses. We're on our way to the Pod Hotel to do a podcast from a pod. Well, here we are at the Pod Hotel, which is what I call it, but my wife Jackie, who's with me now, she'll tell us the name of the place we're in. What is it called, Jackie?
It's actually called the Piccadilly Backpackers.
Piccadilly Backpackers. Okay, so we came here for you, in terms of what you do with your travel websites. Why the Piccadilly Backpackers?
Because they've got a great new concept. It's called pod beds, which is based on the Japanese idea of capsules, and we came to check it out.
So we're doing a podcast in a pod bed.
And I've got my iPod before I go to sleep.
That's 3 pods.
That's a lot of pods.
Okay. So, getting here, we travelled from Yorkshire to King's Cross Station, walked for a bit because we didn't want to use the tube at rush hour or peak hour, and thought we knew the way, and we ended up ending up in the West End, which, as some of you might know, is famous for its theatre and all the theatre productions that go on there. And we found a little restaurant. What was the name of that restaurant?
I think it was the Aurora, wasn't it? Nice little Italian restaurant.
Yep, that was the Aurora, and it had photos of famous people who've dined there. Some I recognised, some I didn't. I think there was Gina Lollobrigida. There was Susie Quattro.
Frankie Howard.
Sorry, who was that?
Frankie Howard.
Yeah, Frankie Howard, who British people would remember. So from there we wandered down to a theatre called the Lyceum. And what was showing there?
The Lion King.
Yeah. So we had some people in the restaurant who said they wanted to go to the Lion King for the 3rd time, so it must be pretty good. So you might remember from last week's podcast, Joomla related, of course, because much of this we haven't doesn't really relate to Joomla, but what does is that we were in the West End and enjoying the sights and sounds of the cinema and the theatres. Because last week we spoke with Gretchen Peters at the Leeds City Varieties, which hosted actors like Charlie Chaplin and Harry Houdini. And this week we've got a segment about another person who's using Joomla, and he's an illusionist, and his name's Stephen Pignataro, and he and his twin brother do an act over in the US, so we've got a chance to chat with Stephen and find out how he uses Joomla. Okay, we've got Stephen Pignataro, who's been around the Mambo and Joomla community for quite some time. Stephen and his brother do an Illusionist show, which he's going to share with us, and part of the way he markets the show is using Joomla. So, Stephen, welcome.
Thank you. Howdy, folks.
You can say hello to some of your old friends. We were chatting earlier that you met Mitch way back when in New York, which you mentioned in our last podcast.
Yeah, the two, I think Mitch basically started off because of our talk. Don't mean to brag, but it was quite an interesting time at the Linux World Convention when I was there. Met a lot of cool people, and one of the neatest person that I met was Mitch. I mean, two of us just talked for like hours, and now Mitch is part of the core development team of Joomla. So, pretty proud of him and how far he's gone.
Did he want to know your magic tricks?
Huh?
Did he want to know any of your magic tricks?
I didn't really publicize it when I was there, other than to a few people.
Yeah.
So it was more as I was there for the convention than anything else.
So, Stephen, how long have you been using Joomla for your present website?
I've been using the product ever since I've started the website about 2 years ago. It's been a great product for everything I've needed to use it for, especially with the newest enhancement of Gig Calendar, which is great for anybody that needs to put up dates for bands. If you do have bands, I myself use it for my tour schedules. A bit different than bands, so I don't use a lot of the features that it comes with, because I'm just an Illusionist and I'm not featuring different bands, but it's a great product and a great plugin for it, as well as I use quite a few other plugins and products for the Joomla.
So that the Gig Calendar is Graham Spicer's component, which he's released, I think it was just after Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we're hoping to catch up with him in the next edition, because he's just been exhibiting over in Anaheim at a music industry conference.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And he's had a good reception from what I've heard. So if you were going to use or suggest the use of Gig Calendar and Joomla, would it suit sort of a rock and roll musician too?
Well, could you repeat that?
Yeah, that's okay.
It came through a bit robotic.
Are we breaking up a bit, are we?
Just a little.
Yeah, sorry.
So can you just repeat that real quick?
No, we've already sort of covered it. We'll just move on.
Okay.
So can you tell us a bit about the show, the Illusionist show that you do?
Well, it's a action-packed show. It's about 90 minutes long. Features both my brother and I, and we do some really cool stuff in the show. A lot of the stuff we've worked on for 2 years just to get it where it is, and now we're actually just taking it onto the road, and hopefully we'll get a very good response from the audiences. One of our favorite illusions is kind of like a romantic piece. It's about one person being in love, and there's a magical sphere that floats around each of the people, basically representing their karma and aura. So it's a pretty interesting illusion, as well as the rest of the show has some really cool stuff. Don't want to give away too much, otherwise no one will come and see it.
So who would be your main inspiration, Stephen?
I'd have to say 3 people. Well, actually 4 if you count duos. But Houdini, basically, because he was the beginning of escapology. And we feature one of his illusions in our show, which is really cool. David Copperfield for basically bringing magic to its new pop era. Siegfried and Roy, because they're one of the greatest duos in magic history, and of course, that's 4 people.
And which Houdini trick do you do?
Say again?
Which Houdini act do you do?
We do the metamorphosis, which is basically you get locked in a trunk, in a mail bag, as well as in handcuffs, and they lock you in the trunk, and the girl gets on top, and magically the 2 switch.
Ah. So how do you learn about this stuff?
You read books. There's quite a few books that you could purchase, as well as just talking to friends that are actually into magic.
Yeah. Are there illusionist forums out there?
There are. but none that I've actually belonged to.
I suppose it's a bit like, I mean, how much you can share without giving the show away.
Yeah, there's not much you could really talk about other than the effect itself.
Yeah.
You have your limitations.
Okay. So tell us a bit about the tour you're going on and where you're going to. Whereabouts are you going to be playing?
Well, basically the tour right now is going to be centered in the Midwest of the United States, basically to Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and New York. And that's basically the areas that we're going to be playing to.
Okay. So with that in mind, if you needed to make changes to your website, you could do that while you're on the road.
Correct. Very easily right through Gig Calendar.
So if you get a new gig or you have to cancel one, you can actually do that on the road.
Correct.
Yeah.
Very, very easy.
So you just go and find an internet cafe.
Or a hotspot.
Ah, yeah. So, looking at your website, you've got a twin brother. He's the second part of the act.
Correct. We're both identical twins, mirror twins, but that's basically where our stage name came from, the mirror images.
Yeah.
Because we are basically mirror images.
You might as well give us the URL, Stephen. What's the URL?
It's www.themirrorimages.com.
Okay. And the likeness of you two is uncanny.
Thanks. I hear that a lot.
I'm sure. Do you sound the same?
We can.
Yeah.
If we work hard. But yeah, we do sound the same quite a bit.
I was trying to get you to do a magic trick for this show, but I think the last bit of magic I heard on radio was Uri Geller bending a spoon, but there's no way you could tell.
Yeah. I'll bend my finger for you.
So, how long have you been sort of active with the Mambo and Joomla communities? It's that whole period, or you've sort of come in and come out?
I'd have to say I've been active heavily since 2004.
Yeah.
But I've been involved in the product long before that.
Yeah.
But being active kind of gives you a better perspective of how the product works than just the features of the product, because there's so much more you can do with the product itself just by talking to other individuals. It's quite amazing.
Are you doing a magic vacuum trick in the background there?
That's that actually is my air conditioner. Well, actually heater for
the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can block that out. Does that do anything?
No, we can live with it.
Oh, okay. So, but being active in the community actually gives you a different perspective, and it has a greater reward being part of the product than just using the product. And that's what I found out over the years.
Because you've been quite active on the forums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just beginning to just get back to being quite active. I normally just read a lot instead of post, only because I've been so busy lately. But I'm going to try summertime to post a lot more and help out a lot more instead of just reading and getting rid of posts, which has just been mainly my job at the moment.
Yeah. So what would a normal working day be for you? Because you work from home.
Yeah, I do work at home. I basically just get up early in the morning, 7. I know for some people that's not early because everyone usually gets up at 5 and then goes to a day job, but I just get up, walk to my basement. So I get up, I basically start working on doing emails, making phone calls to venues, getting things straight, updating the website through Joomla, and then but before you even know it, it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So the day goes by pretty quick.
Yeah. And so you're acting as your own agent, in effect.
Correct.
So do you call up as another person, or do you say... or you just say... I was reading a book about that, where a guy was he was an actor, and he's trying to break in, and he was ringing up as someone else, and then when they said they wanted to speak to him, he had to put on another voice.
I could do that. I could act as my brother.
And get away with it.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
No one would know. No, basically it's just marketing the show as much as possible for us, because we don't have an agent, and we are acting as our agent. So there's a lot that we're learning that you don't know going into this type of business up front.
From looking at your website and looking at the photos of some of the illusions you're doing, it looks quite expensive to bring all the gear together.
Yes, it is. Quite expensive. Which is one of the reasons we chose Joomla for the website, because one, it's cheap and free.
Yeah.
And two, I know how to use it very well.
So with all the props, do you have to purchase those, or do you make them yourselves?
Out of all of them, most of them are built, especially for the show.
Yeah.
So it does get quite expensive. It's an expensive hobby.
So I'm just getting this picture. You're in the basement in the winter in the Midwest, and you're ringing around and booking up or looking for people to take your act. That sounds like hard work, because that's sales work.
Yeah, it is very hard work. It sometimes is quite demanding on hours, because you gotta sell it and you gotta get everything organized before you actually get out onto the road.
So how do you do that? Do you send something out before you make the call, or do you make the call and then send out some information?
Well, basically what we do is we look at the different markets. We look at different venues to perform at. We look at what's happening during the period of time that we're looking for. Then we call the venue and say, we'd like to put on a show at your venue. Do you have an open date around this period of time? If they say yes, then we put it into our routing, and then we look at different areas that are less than 3 hours away from that location, basically making it easy for us to create a route. Then we start marketing the show as soon as the tickets go on sale, about 3 to 4 months before the show is performed.
Okay, so do you travel in a truck? Is that how you move around?
We have a truck, as well as we also have a 26-foot truck to store everything in. And, well, we actually have to get a larger one depending on room.
Any chance we could see you in the UK?
Give us a few years.
Yeah.
It's kind of expensive to go overseas at this point in time until we actually have the funding to do it, as well as you actually have to have an agent out in the area.
Yeah.
So if you know one, give us a call.
So if there's any agents out there listening to this podcast, give the Pignataro brothers a call.
So, it's a tough market, the entertainment. So
yeah.
It's all about the marketing.
So what would be the ultimate for you? Would playing New York or playing Las Vegas? What would be the ultimate?
Having a steady venue to perform at.
Yeah.
Basically having a built-in audience. That'd be the ultimate. Because then you wouldn't have to worry about booking this venue, booking that venue, making sure you sell this many tickets to be able to come ahead.
So I suppose the end goal for you would be, you are full-time. Are you full-time, Stephen, at the moment?
Say again?
You're full-time with this now?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. But just more consistency with the venues.
Yeah. What do you mean by consistency?
Like you said, a residency. Say a residency in Las Vegas would be good.
Oh, yes, very much so.
But if you had a residency, that would mean you'd have to
Live there?
and change the show from time to time, wouldn't you?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you'd have to just change the show about every year,
Yeah.
year or two, which really isn't changing it dramatically. If you look at some performers out in the area, they go on with their show for about 4 years.
Okay.
Because you always have the atmosphere of people is changing every day.
Yeah.
Which is why we could be doing the same show for about 4 years, because if you go around the world, one person's probably... You'll never encounter the same person unless you have a huge following.
Do illusionists have groupies?
They do.
They do.
There are people that actually form groupies for illusionists. Example would be David Copperfield.
Yeah.
Has a huge following, and of course we have a small following.
So are they usually okay, or can they sometimes be a bit of a nuisance?
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
I haven't really met any of Copperfield's groupies.
No, I meant in your case.
In our case, wouldn't say that we've had any problems.
Yeah.
I hope not to.
Oh, well, if they were a problem, you could make them disappear anyway, couldn't you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Poof, be gone.
Obviously, you'd probably come into contact with kids a lot with the work you do.
Yeah, we do.
Are they more interested in illusion and magic since the Harry Potter books came out?
I'd have to say the younger kids are. It's interesting that you've mentioned that, because when we first started off with magic and illusion, kids weren't really into it. They were into it a little. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's neat to see. And now because of the Harry Potter, you actually are beginning to see more and more kids go to illusion shows, magic shows, which is good, because it gets the kids more exposed to different types of entertainment.
Is there sort of a resource on the web that, say, if a kid was interested in getting into magic, that you could recommend?
None that I really know of.
Yeah.
It's actually a good question.
Is it mostly books at the moment?
Yeah, it's mostly books, like Beginner's Guide to Magic, things like that.
Yeah. So it's something you probably could find on Amazon if you looked.
Correct.
Yeah.
If you just use the keyword magic.
All right, mate. Well, again, thanks for your time. I hope the show goes really well, and maybe we can catch up when you get back.
Well, thank you.
And look forward to seeing it one day when you're over here in the UK.
We plan to make a Europe tour one of these days.
Stephen, thanks for sharing your stories about your Joomla-powered website, which you use to promote your Illusionist show for yourself and your brother Michael. If anybody gets a chance to catch their shows, we'd be interested in hearing what they thought about it. You can visit the website at www.themirrorimages.com. Also, thanks to Jackie with her unique visit to the Pod Hotel for our first live podcast, well, sort of live, at Piccadilly Backpackers in London. You can read about our experiences there at www.hostel-escapes.com. Jackie says don't forget the dash. So it's hostel-escapes.com. And Piccadilly Backpackers is piccadillybackpackers.com. Next week we're hoping to speak with Andrew Eddy, so that should be worth tuning in for. Look forward to seeing you then.
Ow, I just fell down the stairs.
Please hang up and try again.